Okay. I should have mentioned in my remarks, Julian's had to head back to Sydney for Passover, so he's on a flight out already, I think. So now, who would like to start? We've got plenty of time, so we'll start here and we'll go around.
You've just described this as a Canberra Voice and saying that it's not going to help communities on the ground. But Canberra, meaning Parliament, yourselves, the government, they control funding, they design policies, they implement those policies. So in this scenario where you only have local and regional voices, who takes their ideas and their proposals to Canberra? Who gets the funding? Who advocates for these policies?
Well, Claire, I mean, we've been up to Alice Springs. We've been to Darwin, we've been to Laverton, to Leonora, we've been up into East Arnhem Land. And when you look at a place like East Arnhem Land, there is already a very strong presence on the ground, as we know, in Yunupingu's own land, where they've been able to bring together the dialects, and they've made decisions around how the housing will be built, around jobs, and around harvesting of timbers up there for the construction company, the negotiations with Rio Tinto, etc., etc. It's a functioning arrangement, and they may or may not benefit from an element of a local voice. I think they've got a very strong local voice now, and it's clear that they have the ability to advocate on their own behalf. In contrast, you go to somewhere like Laverton or to Alice Springs, and as we're seeing now, I mean, I wrote to the Prime Minister in October of last year asking for a Royal Commission in Alice Springs and warned then that somebody would be killed as a result of the dysfunction that we were seeing, the travesty, particularly where young kids are involved, and women who are suffering domestic violence rates at an unconscionable rate in our country. So in Alice Springs, for example, I do think it is a much more powerful model to bring together those women and those community elders to address immediately what needs to be done on the ground and provide that support to them. And of course there can be a structure for that to come through to be able to coordinate with government departments or through Prime Minister and Cabinet, but it is a much more practical way of helping those who are most in need. And every Australian wants to see a better outcome for Indigenous Australians, but the Prime Minister's divisive Canberra Voice is not going to deliver that. That's the issue. And as many elders have said, as we've moved around the country, they're not in favour of the voice because they don't believe, as one auntie said to me recently at a function I was at, we don't want 24 academics. They're not going to be our voice. And we need to take their advice. And we went to the last election with a local and regional voice. That's essentially the policy that we continue on with. It's been well worked through. It was a recommendation from the Calma-Langton report. The government has decided to go with a national body and to exclude a local and regional voice. Just be very clear on this. The Prime Minister is proposing that we not have a local and regional voice. He's proposing a national voice. And the Liberal Party has a proposal here which I think unites the country, doesn't divide the country. And the Prime Minister has gone down a path where he sees political opportunity and an attempt to wedge, and I don't think that's in our country's best interests.